says, papers, please, boy, what does that remind us of? And I don't produce the papers. Can they just say, okay, come with me? We'll sort it out later. What were they thinking? And again, this case, because of who she is getting national attention. But how many other cases are going on where there is no such national attention? So the director of immigration at the Cato Institute, which is a libertarian think tank, posted on X today that there are internal checkpoints. We're not talking about within the 100-mile limit of the border. Internal checkpoints in the United States that they outsource to the various state police agencies where people are stopped and checked for their immigration status. This means that you and I could be stopped and we could be questioned.
No, baby. No,
and if they suspect that we are not in the country legally, they can detain us. This is, from all my understanding of the law and the court decisions, not legal, but it's done anyways, apparently, according to the Cato Institute. But here we go. And the courts did rule in favor of some of the ICE operations. They were challenged for what they do at MacArthur Park in Los Angeles because there are a lot of illegal immigrants that hang out at the park. And from my understanding, I've been in MacArthur Park. I haven't been there in years, but I have been in MacArthur Park. But as I understand, there are a lot of miscreants that hang out in MacArthur Park. But I think that's a LAPD issue. But at any rate, they'll come through MacArthur Park and they'll just round up everybody, bring them in, and then try to determine later whether they are immigrants or not. Illegal immigrants or not. Well, that's a fishing expedition. They're not allowed, according to court decisions, to make fishing expeditions, but in the case specifically of MacArthur Park, when it was challenged, the court ruled it is permissible. This is an erosion of freedoms, I believe, notwithstanding the fact that many people believe that our immigration policies were lax, and this is absolutely necessary for the betterment of the nation. Notwithstanding that, it means that you or I could be swept up. My ex-wife, she was born in the United States. She's Mexican. Anybody in her family, including my children who are half Mexican, theoretically could be picked up because they look like maybe they're not here legally. So, interestingly, as a result of what the Cato Institute tweeted out today, I went to their website to see if they had more on this issue. And as it turns out, they believe, this is the Cato libertarian viewpoint of it, that in the aggregate, all of this immigration stuff is positive for the nation. In the aggregate. Now, I know every time an illegal alien commits a heinous crime, it's a headline. And we are quick to say in my business, an illegal immigrant committed this heinous crime. We don't point out when a heinous crime is committed by a naturally born American citizen, that a naturally born American citizen committed the crime. The argument being, well, yeah, that's true, but if the illegal immigrant hadn't come into the country in the first place, he wouldn't have committed the crime that he did that we're talking about today, and that's true. That's true. Anyways, according to Cato, and let's throw this out into the mix. Asylum entries are down 99.9%. Student visas, family visas, and H-1B applications have all cratered. The Cato Institute concludes that the president's executive actions have blocked far more legal immigrants than illegal ones. And they say that the president's stated support for legal immigration does not match his policy record. They also talk here about the economic benefit of birthright citizenship, which of course is an important issue for us to consider today as well, given the Supreme Court decision. The Labor Department, they say, has inflated H-1B wages to force out skilled foreign workers. It says that Department of Homeland Security has quit granting green cards almost entirely. It says that people come into the United States to train as physicians on student visas, and then after we train them as physicians, the U.S. policy forces them to leave. This is not my argumentation. I'm just saying I stumbled across this as a result of the tweet that went out today by the Cato Institute. Whether you embrace their philosophy of libertarianism or not, they have a pretty good record of backing up their argumentation with facts. Now, in these cases, I have not gone back personally to vet out whether what they are stating on their website today is accurate or inaccurate, but I find it extremely interesting in the context of today's discussion, and that's why I present it to you. So with that, I will start calling people in the order which I see them on the stage, and I'm glad that the order begins with Marshall, who's right there in the McAllen area and knows the intimate details of this poor nun being held for 24 hours, even though she's legally a resident of the United States of America. Marshall.
Hey, Jared. Sad day. I don't think very many people knew that we had internal checkpoints, but we've had checkpoints at the two major highways. The two highways around here are called 281 and 77, and they each have a internal checkpoint on them. And there has been arguments my entire life that says these things are a combination of both illegal and unconstitutional. I put more stock in the unconstitutional than the illegal, because I've never been able to find a piece of federal code that says it's illegal. The sister Letty Boja, I think that's how you say her name, as soon as she was detained and word went out, all three Valley Congress people, two Democrats and one Republican, the Democrats were Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez. Henry Cuellar represents District 28, Vicente Gonzalez represents District 34, and Monica Cruz, who is the congressman I'm working for, represents Congressional District 15. All three went out of their way as soon as they heard, get her out. And the only thought I've had on this for the last couple of hours is, this is what happens when you run fast and break things. You catch people who shouldn't be caught in the first place. Instead of, what's the saying, Gary? You can have it fast, easy, or done right, but you have to choose between the two. I'm forgetting how that saying goes. But in order to administer this in the correct way, it needs to not be run fast and break things, which is what the administration is doing. And I'd be willing to bet you all the meager amount of money and possessions I have, Stephen Miller was the person who was responsible for this in terms of advice. Instead of Tom Holman, who under the Obama administration, under the Biden administration, was able to administer immigration services in a way where they did not result in nuns getting caught up who were American citizens, didn't result in religious people getting caught up who were American citizens. They did it slowly and they did it properly. They didn't do it fast. And I think one of the lessons we have to take away here is this is what happens when you do things fast and you run fast and break things. You end up catching people that shouldn't be caught up. And there is something seriously wrong with running fast and breaking things when it comes to actual people getting detained. Aside from the fact that she was a Catholic nun and a sister and deserved more than she got, this is how the administration has been acting. And I don't think there's another way to preface it or to say anything other than that the administration has decided that they would rather do things fast and do things effectively. They would not prefer to do them the right way. I'm not saying they don't do some things the right way. I'm not saying, in a couple of cases they don't get them right. What I am saying is that when you run fast and break things, people like this sister are the folks that get caught up. And that's just not right. So I'll leave it there for people that have extra questions. If you'd like me to go through and read the statements from all three of the congressmen, I will. I just didn't figure you'd want me to read their press releases. So I'm just more giving my opinion than anything else. I know Sister Norma Pimentel, along with the congresswoman and two congressmen, were instrumental in getting the sister out of detention. But this is just wrong. I don't think there's another way to say it. It's just wrong.
So, your comments there, Marshall, and I appreciate that input, lead me back to something that I said in the opening salvo, and that is, well, if it happened to her, we're hearing about it because of her stature in the community. How many other people is this kind of thing happening to? What is your sense?
Happened to a bunch of money. Happened to three mariachis from my high school. They got detained, and it took 2 or 3 weeks to get them out of detention. This happened to at least 3 other Valley residents who are U.S. citizens or permanent residents. The only thing I can take away from this is, again, this is what happens when you run fast and break things. When the administration is more interested in shoveling out as many people as they possibly can, as quickly as they possibly can, you are going to wind up in a place where you make mistakes. And this, to say it in the politest form possible, was a mistake. I personally, it appears malicious to me. I often think the explanation for things getting screwed up is stupidity rather than maliciousness. But this seems malicious. To lock a nun up, along with the other people that have been locked up, the administration just does not seem to care about doing this the right way. They simply want to answer the campaign promise that people need to be gone. And if the majority of people in my party want them gone more than they want things done the right way, then they're not going to be critical of this because, oh, well, she got caught up, but we have to get other people too. And I personally am in the camp of you do it correctly. You don't just speed. So this happened, like I said, to at least 3 other Valley residents and at least 2 high school kids who were on the mariachi team and who didn't deserve to be caught up in the first place. But because the administration wants to run fast and break things, this is what happens.
Were those kids targeted because they play in the mariachi band?
Oh, no, not that I'm aware of, and not that any of the congressmen that helped them were aware of. but they were in the mariachi band. And when I went to high school, we had at least a quarter of the students coming over from Reynosa every day, our sister city. And, granted, they lived in Mexico, so legally they're not allowed to go to school in the United States. But they had an uncle or somebody else who lived here, and typically they would just list the uncle's address, and they would be able to come in and get education, which I never particularly minded and still don't mind. But there are people that come back and forth between Mexico to go to Valley High schools every day of the week. And I don't exactly know how the mariachis got caught up, but something happened and they got put in detention for 3 weeks. And it's just a travesty. Like I said, this is what happens when you run fast and break things. You don't do things the right way. And, I'll end with this. Do you know the saying I was talking about? You get it fast, easy, or correct? Something like that?
Well, you said fine in your own words. I don't think we need to try to look up a saying. You said it just fine in your own words.
But I think that's what happens when you try to do it fast and easy instead of easy and correctly. Right? That you wind up with these sorts of issues, which are just not right. They're running roughshod over civil protections for people. And the problem is the next president of the United States will have the ability to use these precedents to do even more. As I always complain about presidential power, this is just providing a precedent for another president who would like to do something similar. Maybe it's not to the folks who live where I live. Maybe it's to Polish people. Probably not, but you get the point. That it's just to other people. And we should, as a population, zealously guard our civil protections. And the administration, for whatever reason, with Stephen Miller's help, I call Stephen Miller Voldemort, but that's just me. They have decided it's okay to do it this way. And it's just, there's no other way to state it other than this is just wrong. It's just morally wrong to do what they're doing.
Thank you, Marshall. We'll go to Scott, followed by Pat.
So what I'm getting from that discourse that Marshall just shared is that he doesn't run with scissors in his house. So, and I think that's excellent. Safety first, I always say. And, I agree with Marshall. You can do things well, or you can do them fast. And many a woman has said that to me. But regarding the policies, and so I don't have a lot to say other than I largely agree with what Marshall said in terms of the sort of ham-handedness which comes from attempting to reach these goals, these crazy deportation goals, which were set, I believe, by Stephen Miller. Now, Stephen Miller said that he wants 3,000 arrests per day, which would be an official deportation target of 1 million a year. Now, to give some context to this and to try to get a sense of just what that number means, Obama was called deporter-in-chief when he was president, and a lot of the left found that problematic, right? Obama did not have friends on the left regarding 2 issues, immigration and education. And Arnie Duncan, his education secretary, was not popular for the reforms that he advocated on the left. And Obama was not popular, again, with many folks on the left because of his zealous deportation practices. Now, at the zenith of Obama's deportation, which occurred in 2012, from 2009 to 2016, he deported 2.7 million folks. That's over 2 terms. Logging an average of 343,000 deportations over the course of his term. His highest was 409,000 deportations in 2012. So that gives you a sense. The deporter-in-chief 1 year got to 409,000. Miller wants to more than double that, okay? And I think exactly what Marshall's saying. If you have these zealous, I think unrealistic goals, you're just going to start locking up nuns. Like anybody brown, anybody black, anybody that looks like they can tolerate a hot tamale or fire sauce at Taco Bell. Lock them up, right? I mean, this is what's going to happen, right? So, I mean, I just think that these goals are insane. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Marshall's right. I think Miller is I mean, ultimately Trump is responsible for anything in his administration, but I think Marshall's right. I think Miller is driving the